There soon will be no escaping politics on whichever screen you are using to watch this program. Your TV, your computer, your tablet, or even your phone. More than 15,000 Coloradans will get a text tomorrow for a campaign for governor. We checked with the Federal Trade Commission about the plan by the Jared Polis for Governor campaign. Now, federal regulators would not talk about this specific plan to send thousands of people a text with a link to a campaign endorsement from civil rights icon Congressman John Lewis. But we know, of course, that federal guidelines are supposed to keep political campaigns from engaging in textual harassment, unless you've signed up for such messages. The Polis campaign is planning an old-school text storm approach so they can stay on the right side of the law.
These are not automated. These are individual text messages from independent volunteers. So it's not an automated system at all. The folks that receive the John Lewis message tomorrow are people that have expressed interest in Jared through either online, have communicated with the campaign at some point.
Polis is trying to win the Democratic nomination every which way. He's going through tomorrow night's caucuses, and he is also collecting signatures to petition onto the ballot, kind of an insurance policy. It's an expensive proposition, but we already know that Polis is going to dip into his personal fortune for this race. All right, so you're passionate about politics. You want to participate when your neighbors gather tomorrow night. But if you don't meet the requirements, you're going to get caucus blocked. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
You say you want a caucus. Well, I say listen up. Before you show up to participate in politics tomorrow, you have to fit the following 3 criteria. And if you don't, it's too late for this year. You had to affiliate as a Republican or Democrat by January 8th. Then you had to be a resident of your precinct as of February 5th. And you had to register to vote by February 6th. If you can't check every one of these boxes, unaffiliated voters, I'm looking at you can't caucus tomorrow. Okay, so for those of you who do check all 3 boxes, a new wrinkle is actually finding your caucus.
Okay, so let me go back.
The Colorado Democratic Party admits its search function was having some problems with people's addresses, like Dennis Jones, who lives in Belmar in Lakewood.
If you want the government to behave the way you think it should behave and act the way you think it should act, you need to participate. I mean, you need to be part of that process.
Dennis had to manually find his caucus and knows it's now at Alameda High School. Let's get this out of the way first. I'm not going to show you anything from the Republicans because their search function works. Make your jokes later. This is the Democratic function. This is the site where some people are typing in their address and they can't find their caucus location. So you have to go to the Secretary of State's website in Colorado, type in your name, zip code, birthday. I've already done mine because I don't want you to know that much about me. This small print shows my exact precinct number. Well, what the heck does that mean? We're looking for 856 at the very end. You have to go back to the Democrats' website if you are a Democrat. This would work with the Republicans too, except we already said the Republicans' website works. I have to go to Denver, where I live. You click here, you go through the process, which I know it's tough to see, so I'm not going to do it, but you type in that 8, 9, 10-digit precinct number and find the exact location of your caucus. This is if you're a Democrat. Once more, Kyle, the Republican system works.
Democrats should just get a system that works. By the way, Marshall is a regular-sized person. That's just a really huge screen. Opponents of a Winter Olympics bid for Denver are ramping up their campaign this week. They'll hold a press conference at the Capitol Friday and then a debate on Saturday. Former Governor Dick Lamb, who convinced Coloradans to reject the 1976 Games, says he is ready for a new generation to lead the fight this time. He told me he thinks a Denver Olympics will be stopped again.
You look at all around the world, people are withdrawing their bids. Boston withdrew their bid. You know, you go on down all over the world, people, when they really come to trying to host the Olympics, it's an economic disaster almost inevitably, and the people don't support it. So I think that this one is living on borrowed time.
Former Governor Lamb says he thinks Colorado faces a greater threat than the Olympics, Amazon. We'll return to our conversation with him in a moment and explore whether he thinks that everyday Coloradans have a chance to prevent Amazon or the Olympics if all of our state's wealthy and powerful interests support them. Colorado Democrats cleaned house on Friday. They kicked out their representative Steve Lebsack, who was accused of sexual harassment and then smearing his accusers. Today, Democrats turned to Republicans at the Capitol and said, "Your turn, not so fast." Our politics guy Brandon Ritteman explains.
The desk is all cleaned out on the House floor where Steve Lebsack used to sit until Friday.
Representative Lebsack, I want to ask you to please resign today.
He didn't. They kicked him out by a vote of 52-9. It was an emotional vote pushed by Democrats against one of their own. The Senate is controlled by Republicans, and some of their own face accusations of sexual harassment, too.
Do you have a message for the Senate after what happened over on your side of this building?
Silence is not enough. Action is needed.
We did our job. It's time for them to listen to the women, too.
They had the moral fortitude to exercise the power granted to the legislature.
Today, the minority Democrats in the Senate called for a vote to expel Republican Randy Baumgardner. He's been accused by an aide of grabbing and slapping her in the rear a couple of years ago. His fellow Republicans called for a criminal investigation first, but a vote on expulsion could happen without criminal charges, says Senate President Kevin Grantham.
I'm not ruling that out. No, we can't.
Grantham says he could support holding that vote with an investigation by a special committee, but he hasn't called for one of those yet. And he points out the cases in the House and Senate are different.
And if we're going to compare apples to apples, then let's do that.
Senator Baumgardner is not accused of retaliating against the woman who came forward, as opposed to Lebsack, who detailed the sex lives of some of his accusers in a 28-page document he handed out to members. A lot of House Republicans who voted yes say they did so because that was retaliation. Without that element, Lebsack's seat might not be empty today.
That was Brandon Riddiman reporting. As of now, Republicans are still trying to decide whether they will attempt to replace Lebsack. He secretly switched parties and joined them right before he was removed. If Republicans choose to just walk away from this one and keep their hands off, then Governor Hickenlooper, a Democrat, would make the selection. It is entirely possible that we don't even have this conversation about sexual harassment, this cleansing at the Capitol, without the reporting of Public Radio's Benta Birkeland. The women involved trusted her with the story. Our photojournalist Chris Hansen met up with Birkeland at the Capitol.
Ms. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1188.
There's always something new to learn. There's always an interesting policy debate. It's challenging, and it's important to tell the public what's happening here at the Capitol.
What have the last 3-4 months been like for you?
It's definitely been very intense. When I started out doing this story, I had the idea of just doing a short piece that would be the overall culture of the building in relation to what was happening nationally, and I didn't expect we had a lot of problems here with workplace harassment. I talked to a lot of people. Lebsack was a name that came up right away. I'd never interviewed him until I did this story, so I didn't know him personally.
From your first story in November to now, what have you seen change here at the Capitol?
There's definitely been a high level of stress. That's been one change for everyone in the building, but we have that anyway going into an election year. And I think it's too early to say what the long-term change will be. On Friday's vote, the expulsion vote, which was historic, one source texted me and said, this doesn't feel like much of a victory. But then she also conceded that not holding someone accountable would have been a huge defeat and could have created a chilling effect on other people watching. So I think a lot of the lobbyists and aides and interns, they do want to see some changes in the procedure and how you file complaints and how you report, and could there be more confidentiality? Do legislative leaders have to be involved? I think people feel like there's an inherent conflict of interest there, and some of the members have said that as well.
Where do you see your role in this whole conversation?
Our job is just to report and try to uncover the truth as close as we can, and then follow up on whatever happens.
The House will stand in recess until 1 p.m. today.
So we don't really have any big agenda other than just try to shine a light on what's really happening here.
Let's check back in on Denver's ban on bump stocks, the move that we told you was more political posturing than practical gun control policy. We've been checking in weekly to see if anyone has voluntarily surrendered a bump stock to comply with Denver's new law. Nope, still zero. We'll check again next week. Longmont Housing Authority has a new interim director. Her name is Mofi Miller. She comes from another LHA, the Loveland Housing Authority. She recently retired from that job, but now she's going to step in to guide Longmont's Public Housing Authority out of scandal. Told you all about those warrantless police searches there. Miller certainly has the experience to guide their turnaround. She's been in the business of public housing for 29 years. The most Colorado thing we saw today, Grandma nearly blowing off the roof of Grandma's House Brewery on Broadway. This is wild. This is mesmerizing. The owner took this today. I don't even know if she's visible from the street half the time anymore in winds like that. DIA had almost 700 flight delays reported today because of the wind, and 79 flights were just canceled. This, of course, was also a nervous day for firefighters. We will hit the road and ride along with South Metro Fire, trying to keep smaller fires under control. Next. The wild wind that was canceling flights and taking Grandma nearly off the roof of Grandma's House Brewery, it has been a serious concern for firefighters through the weekend and today. Nothing can turn into something with a spark in just a second of that wind. Our Noel Brennan spent the day with South Metro Fire Rescue.
The key of this is that we have high winds and we have really dry conditions.
On a red flag day, South Metro Fire brings out the yellow.
There's the lighter weight yellow gear, which is designed to wear during wildland fires.
They'll send wildland experts and 3 times as many trucks.
Every red flag day, no matter how small the fire is when it's reported, we send a large complement of firefighters and different kind of firefighting equipment so that we're prepared immediately.
Because they don't want the next fire to be the one
let's go.
That gets out of control.
I think we got a structure fire.
South Metro Fire spokesman Eric Hurst.
Copy that. Medic 53.
Keeps busy.
I got the back deck on fire, small fire.
On days like today.
3 Battalion 61.
This call in Centennial.
This Piccadilly, what is it, street?
Was a deck fire.
There was no damage to the house itself, no injuries.
It could easily have spread in high winds that quickly grew this fire near E470 to 30 acres.
We were able to supply some mutual aid resources and help Aurora bring that under control and get it contained as well.
It pays off to be ready for a red flag day. For Next.
Sounds good, buddy. Be safe.
I'm Noel Brennan.
So early in the season to be talking about critical fire danger, and a scene that will continue to play out overnight tonight as those gusty winds continue. Currently 34 degrees at the airport. The wind chill is 21. Our high today at 42. That is about 10 degrees cooler than average. The winds will start to ease late tonight, but you really won't notice a big difference until probably around 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Some of the reports are amazing. At DIA, winds to 60 miles per hour, 55 in Fort Collins. Topper, Jefferson County, winds to almost 80. All due in part to low pressure in the Midwest, creating blizzard conditions, and high pressure off just to the west of the state. And that little tunnel, that pressure gradient, is creating those extremely gusty winds from the low and the high, which are starting to separate, and the winds will start to ease. There's blowing snow over the higher terrain and on I-70. That may be a factor for those driving late tonight. And another cold night with lows forecast in the single digits in the mountains and teens on the plains. In the Denver metro area, gusty winds continue, clear cold and 19. Tomorrow, temperatures in the mid-40s. The wind really dying down around lunchtime. A nice warming trend for the rest of the week. Next storm we're tracking arrives on Saturday. Slight chance for snow that day, and then temperatures back in the 60s. But wow, it is so gusty, Kyle, outside the studios this hour.
Kathy, thanks. Former Governor Dick Lamb compares Denver's Olympic hopes to a cancer. And our next question is about that holiday that popped up randomly on our phones. Coloradans voted down the 1976 Olympics, only state to reject an awarded bid. Former Governor Dick Lamb led that effort, and he wants Coloradans to be able to take a non-binding vote on the 2026 or 2030 bid, which is being explored by a group of wealthy and powerful civic leaders. We talked about that today, and Lamb's similar concerns about the growth wave that Amazon could bring to Colorado.
And I think Amazon is much worse for Colorado.
Why so?
Well, because we have among the lowest unemployment rate in the world. They're looking at $30,000 to $50,000 jobs. That means all of those, most of those people are going to have to come in from out of state. Do you know what it costs us to settle somebody coming in from out of state? It's $20,000 to $30,000 in roads and schools and infrastructure. This, and then they want us to give them a subsidy, the largest corporation in America, or one of them. I think the audacity of Amazon asking for these various communities to beggar themselves with money that we desperately need for schools and infrastructure and roads and everything else to help settle those people. Well, do you want slow growth or do you want cancerous growth? I think that's the question. Do you want to have the regular organic? Colorado's growing nicely. We're adding jobs without having this avalanche of jobs that we have to then move heaven and earth to accommodate to.
Where do you think Denver's Olympic dreams, the bid ends up? Do we submit a bid? Do we lose out on a bid? Where does it go? Where does it end?
Yeah, it's hard for me to say because, as you point out, there's some good people behind it. I think you and I talked before about that in 1972, the organizing committee sort of gave us an easy target. These are substantial people, and I think that they've done a lot for Colorado. And so I don't think we can dismiss their case just casually. I think it would end up in a vote. That's what I think. We need a catharsis of a vote.
Public vote.
Yes, could be on the 2018. All you have to do is go up with the legislature and get it referred onto the ballot, and you would have, I think, a catharsis. You would have people would present our case, they'll present their case, and let the people vote and let the decision. That's the democratic way to do it.
Why is it that the people in power in Colorado are so set on landing these big time projects?
I always swim against the stream because they're following the ancient way of, you see something like this and you jerk your knees and you say, wow, that's good. I don't think they've thought it through. I don't think they thought Amazon through, and I don't think they thought the Olympics through.
These are very smart people. They are smart, well-educated people, and they've had very highly successful professional careers. You don't think they've thought about it?
I don't think they've analyzed it in the right way. No, I think that they just automatically think that all growth is good.
Our full unedited interview is on the Next YouTube page, and there Lamb discusses the recent scandals for state legislators and Denver's mayor. It's youtube.com/next on 9 News. Our next question comes from Douglas Withers. He writes, "Hey Kyle, what holiday did we miss yesterday?" Friday. It's listed on our phones as Holy. It's a mystery to me and all my friends and family. So Douglas, I saw it Friday and I honestly thought it was a typo, and I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that. I feel ignorant. I try to read books and such. But other smart people I know say that they thought the same when they saw that Friday's calendar included this holiday called Holi. Holi is the festival of colors. It's celebrated in countries with a large Hindu population, so India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan. People celebrate by splashing each other with water and then throwing or smearing colored powder on their friends and family. Each color carries a different meaning. So I think you should be careful what color you choose for your mother-in-law. Holi dates back to the 4th century. It's rooted in Hindu mythology. It celebrates the start of spring and good overcoming evil. It also looks like a lot of fun. So next time you see it, I don't know, maybe we should all be celebrating. You folks did something very kind for the people we met here last week. The actors putting on a play with a variety of ways of speaking. And I will answer your question of the day. Is this dandruff, lint, glitter? We told you about a terrific group of people last week on Next who are working to change the perceptions surrounding folks who communicate to the world without speech. Quite the opportunity to be part of a play, The Snow Queen, in Parker over the weekend. And we understand that nearly 500 people came out to watch the play on Saturday and Sunday, standing ovations after each performance. We know at least one of them was a sold-out show. We will keep you abreast of their future projects, as we know that a lot of you would like to get out and support these folks who are really trailblazers in our community. We finish with your feedback. Mark writes, "Bravo, Dick Lamb, finally a politician who understands Colorado." While Ken says, "Geez, Dick Lamb's really become the get off my lawn cranky guy." Ken, I get the sense that Dick Lamb is ready for a new generation to lead the fight against the Olympics. He is understanding that he's no longer the upstart in his 30s that he was when he led the charge against 76. Skip Sand says, "What's up with the coat? Dandruff, snow, glitter?" Concern from Timothy, who thinks that I bedazzled it. An idea. See you next time.